Yep, that's a great question. And what I want to enter, one of the things in the law is how the victim feels, how the victim interprets threats. And Karen didn't hear a lot of the threats. And we talked to her at length about that. The detectives talked to her at length about that. And we went into hypothetical situations, just how would you have felt if you did hear it? And she went as far as saying she would not have felt threatened. And she understands, that the bullying went too far, but a lot of criminal prosecution relates to how she feels and how she interprets the threats. And when your victim's telling you that she did not feel threatened, well, we, also picked up on that and thought we might be able to move that to the level of a misdemeanor. Based on her statement, we were not able to do that. And while I come back up here, I did leave out one other thing. We made it very clear to Karen that we were there for her. Our ultimate goal was to work for her and to bring this to a successful conclusion. And she understands that. And we explained to her, we are not going to stop with our investigation. We are going to continue, and we are going to see if it does rise to the level of a crime, and we do plan on consulting with the district attorney's office just in case she changes her mind. Just because she told us at this time she does not want to press charges, that doesn't mean at a later time she cannot. But some of the things that went into her decision are the treatment that the four kids have received. And when I say that, when someone watches the video, there's not going to be a whole lot of remorse for the children. Then people aren't going to feel real sorry for them. But they've received death threats. We've received 911 calls to their home saying that somebody was holding them hostage. That's not funny. That's a crime. That's a form of bullying, and that makes everyone doing it no better than the four kids who did this. We're a town of 100,000 people. We're a 100-man police department, but now we have 4 addresses we have to go by on a continual basis to make sure that they're safe. They're 13 years old. Their families have been threatened. Their brothers and sisters have been threatened. We have custody of one of their cell phones, and he had over 1,000 missed calls and 1,000 text messages threatening him. I mean, he is 13 years old. So if I can't, relay anything else, that must stop. We'll handle the situation. The school district will handle the situation, but threats, to overcome threats, do us no good, and I want to get that out there.
Captain, at what point does this rise to a level of a crime? I know you're going to continue to monitor this in case Karen changes her mind, but at what point will we be looking at criminal charges here?
That's a decision. Once we have, we originally weren't going to announce that she decided no charges, but she's been talking to media outlets and she said different things on different outlets, and that's the decision she's given us at this time. But we still plan on, there's a bunch of different laws that may fit once we get all the statements taken, once we look at her statement, take a look at the video. But like I say, it's May, and we have to look at that. I mean, Lieutenant Henderson, you want to comment on that any further?
It may never rise to that level.
Right.
That should have to be determined.
And as a police department, as a command staff, most of us have teenage children. Most of us were outraged by what we saw. So we feel everyone's pain. I've gotten emails from the United Kingdom, from all over the United States saying, prosecute them. I feel it, I feel it, but we have to follow the law. We can't tailor the law to meet this case because of public outrage. We have to follow the law. That's what we were sworn to do, and that's what we'll continue to do.
We were hearing that maybe one of the students, a father, is with the Greece Police Department, is that true?
I knew that was going to come up. We have not publicly broadcast. One of the student's stepfather is a Greece police officer. And what I want to relay regarding that is he made us aware of it before he was one of the first people to make us aware of it yesterday morning. He contacted the operations captain. He brought his son in. His son took his stepson, I should say. He brought his stepson in. His stepson took full responsibility and is prepared to take his punishment, basically. That officer's on vacation. He's not involved in the investigation. He has no say as to what happens in the investigation. He understands that. And he actually made the comment, do not treat this investigation any differently than you would treat any other investigation. And not that we would have, but he's had no say in it, and it will not be treated any differently because his stepson is involved.
Captain, it sounds like under the law, whether it rises to a crime or not, does it really depend a lot on how the victim takes it?
It does. the victim has to feel threatened. That's what some of the laws say. The victim has to feel threatened. And while she was harassed, she stated that she did not feel threatened at any time. She actually, there's a lot of outcry saying, you know, they made her cry. According to her statement, she did not cry. She was not crying, she was sweating. So, you know, while we sympathize with her, while it's horrific, at this point, she's decided no charges.
Is there any level of protection plan for the students, their families at home and school?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually had to come up with that. All the patrols in the areas know where everybody lives, and we've been making drive-bys, you know, and checking all the houses. We call them special attentions, and we have to take that seriously. I mean, today, the Rochester Police Department received a call at one of their substations that the family was being held hostage at gunpoint. You know, that's a serious call that takes away our resources from the rest of the town, and you know, if we catch that person, we'll prosecute that person.
Captain, just to clarify, did all 4 students come forward, or did you have to seek some of them out?
You know, that's a good question for Sergeant Vokel.
Well, they were contacted yeah. The students were contacted by the school district and did come to the school accompanied by their parents voluntarily. So we didn't have to go find them or seek them out. They just honored our request that they come in.
Okay, so none of them voluntarily.
Well, if I can interject, there was one student who initially came forward with their parent, came to the school yesterday morning. That student issued a full confession with their parent present, and information that student provided also helped us to determine other students who were involved in the situation. So once those students were identified, they all knowingly and willingly came forward and were interviewed with their parents present, correct?
That's correct.
Captain, you said that you had phone numbers from people that were making threats. Are you holding on to those? Are you going to prosecute anyone that's threatening these families?
We're looking into that, yes, absolutely. We take, anytime someone calls in that the family's being barricaded or being held hostage, and we have to respond to that, we're obviously looking into that.
Captain, Albany, the state legislature has made a big deal of the anti-bullying legislation. Can you say whether or not anything out of Albany may also provide you with additional leverage in your investigation?
You know, we're looking at everything. We're looking at every available option, and that was one of the things we were looking at before we went the no prosecution route. We're still, you know, today originally I had planned on coming here telling you we're still investigating it, but with the new developments, I wanted to inform you of the way we were going. We have not finished our investigation. I can't emphasize that enough. We're not done. Just because she doesn't want to press charges, that does not change the way we document. It will be documented the exact same way. The investigation will be done the exact same way. Just in case she changes her mind at a later time, we don't want to look unprepared, so it'll be documented the exact same way.
I have a question for someone from the school district, if they can answer a couple of questions.
Okay. We'll all come up and whoever can answer will answer.
It appears there were several other videos, 2 other at least.
There's 3
before?
total that we're aware of.
Right. When did you find out about all of them at the same time,
Well,
yesterday?
What happened was, we were notified about the one main video, that's the one that's been most frequently played on TV. And then at that time, we began Googling and searching for others, and we were able to find the 3 total, all posted by the same person. We're not quite sure who the poster was, but we knew about all 3 in the morning.
So you had no knowledge of the other 2 prior to?
Prior to learning of the first, we did not know there were others, no.
Laurel, the 4 students who were directly involved in the harassment,
Yes.
they've all been pretty much, everybody knows who they are, but what about the other students on the bus who didn't do anything or may have witnessed this and decided they would rather, you know, be entertained by this as opposed to trying to do something? Any plans as far as what may
Well, I
what may
mean,
happen with those?
what I can tell you is that Tuesday was our last day of school. It was a half day. So when we found out about this, school was already out of session. So you can imagine that it's difficult to speak to every child on the bus. Typically, if school were in session, we would get everybody that was on that bus to be interviewed by different people on staff and to find out what exactly every person that was on that bus knew and when they knew it. Basically, we weren't able to do that. I think that you might be able to speak to, as people came forward, if names were brought up as, oh, this person might have possibly heard something, or this person might have possibly been involved, then we would call those students in. So at this point, it's only the students that we knew had knowledge or involvement that have been interviewed.
So as far as various levels of culpability when it comes to discipline, you've got 4 that probably are looking at the maximum. Lesser discipline for others who may have been able to stop this or at least do something.
I can't speak to that at this time because we're not sure how many people may have been aware of it. At this point, it's only the 4 students that were directly involved, and those are the students that we're looking at right now. I mean, I can tell you that Athena in all of our Grace schools has had a lot of training and focus on bullying prevention, and that is one of the features of the bullying prevention training that we work on every day, is not just being a passive observer to bullying, to try to stand up and say, hey, stop that, that's cruel, that's mean. You know, you have to also understand that a bus is a very loud environment. So even though we think everybody may have heard what's going on, the bus seats are very high. It blocks a lot of the ability for people to hear sound. Bus road noise is louder than others. People that we've spoken to have even said, you know, there were fans and other things going on the bus because of the heat at the time that made it harder to hear. So to the extent that other people on the bus may have heard what was going on, we can't really speak to that because we're not sure exactly what happened with all of the students on board.
The conversation is